And a very good evening to you, and welcome to Politics 101 on, on a Monday night. We come on here tonight. You see it on the screen there. The teacher strike has been called off. Excuse me, the government caves in. Teachers win round one. Teachers win round one. Welcome to Politics 101. We're going to be discussing this new development late this evening. As you know, the mediation has been going on between the teachers and the government under the supervision of Senior Counsel Loku and Stoby. They hit an agreement today. The government has decided to sit down and to negotiate with the teachers. The government has decided to sit down and negotiate with the teachers. So the teachers have agreed in good faith to call off the strike so that collective bargaining can go into effect. Remember, the first objective of the teacher strike was the restoration of collective bargaining, and then secondly, to negotiate a living wage for the teachers. The teachers have won round one. They have gotten the government to agree to collective bargaining, of course, under the supervision of the court. Welcome to Politics 101, wherever you're joining us from, whether you're joining us from Guyana or you're joining us from outside of Guyana. It's a good day. It's a good day. It's Monday, the first day of the week, and the strike would have been entering week five today. The strike would have entered week five today. So we come on here with good news for the teachers. The teachers have prevailed. They have won round one. Round one, that is to get the government to come to the table for collective bargaining. Welcome to Politics 101. If you're joining us from the wider Caribbean, welcome. If you're joining us from North America, welcome. Bronxville is in the house. Welcome to Politics 101. Welcome to Politics 101. Those of you who are joining us from Canada, welcome to Politics 101, the United States of America. Wherever in the United States or in Canada that you're joining us from, welcome to Politics 101. My good friend Gladys Passad, welcome to Politics 101. Sandra Hanover, Annette Cummins, Audrey Brown, these are all regulars. We come on here tonight with good news from the standpoint of the teachers, and by extension, good news for all of Guyana. Welcome to Politics 101. Please share the link. Some of you have already started to do so. Please share the link. We want a full house tonight. Share the link, and I'm expecting a couple of people to join me later on to discuss this new development. Things have been moving very, very fast. Welcome to all of you, Tyron Peters, Cheryl Wharton, Renisa Webster. Welcome to Politics 101. Those of you who are joining us from Europe, the United Kingdom, I notice France is in the house. Welcome to Politics 101. And if you're in Guyana, if you're a teacher, wherever you are, if you're a teacher, welcome to Politics 101. If you're a Guyanese teacher, welcome to Politics 101. It's good. It's good to be on. I'm expecting a few people to drop by tonight. It's late notice, so some of them are trying to wrap up other things, but they are going to be here. We expect them to be here. We come on here with the news. Good evening to you, Dennis Atwell, Yonette Elias, Floretta Hamilton, Ian Winters. Welcome to Politics 101. We come on air with the news. the teacher strike has been called off. But the teachers have won wrong one. The government caves in. The government did not want to meet with the teachers. Remember, the teachers were fighting on two levels. They were fighting for the restoration of collective bargaining, whereby the government will sit down with them and to negotiate better wages. The government was refusing to do so. The court stepped in and the court took over the process. And the court ordered mediation. Justice Sandy Kissoon appointed senior counselors, Stobie and Edward Loku, Robin Stobie, Edward Loku, appointed them as mediators. They started their work late last week, and today they were able to get the two sides to agree to talk. Well, not the two sides. The teachers always wanted to sit down and talk. It was the government that didn't want to sit down and talk. And you see there on the screen, you can get it on my website. If you want to Politics 101 website. Some of you are joining the program from that Facebook page, the news stories there. Please like and follow that Facebook page, Politics 101. Politics 101, like that page. My other page, of course, is Hinds'Sight with Dr. David Hines. Like those pages so that you can get alerts coming from us. Our news bulletin, you can get that. And also like our Facebook page, Politics 101, our YouTube channel, Politics 101 with Dr. David Hines. And I know a lot of you are joining us from YouTube. In fact, the majority, almost half of our audience is joining us from YouTube. Please like our YouTube channel, Politics 101 with Dr. David Hines, and our Facebook page. Our Facebook pages, Politics 101 with Dr. David Hines, or Hinds'Sight with Dr. David Hines. And of course, our website, Dr. David Hines Guyana Politics 101. That's our website. So please join us. We come on air tonight with the news story. The G2U strike has been called off. I'm reading here from the Stabrook News. A 4-week-long strike by teachers ended today as a result of court-ordered mediation. An agreement reached between the two sides and the teachers said that the teachers will resume work on or before Wednesday, March 6, 2024. Discussion shall then proceed within 48 hours of resumption of work and shall be in relation to those matters which either party considers relevant for discussion between the union and the government, which include financial matters. These discussions will take place in the boardroom of the Ministry of Education. The agreement said that both parties reserve all their rights pursuant to any agreement or the laws of Guyana. That is very important. The mediation was ordered by Justice Sandy Kissoon, and the mediators were Senior Counsel Edward Loku and Robin Stobie. And of course, we have on screen there the actual document. It is hereby agreed that the teachers shall in good faith resume work on or before Wednesday, the 6th of March, 2024. 2, discussion shall proceed within 48 hours of resumption of work in relation to those matters which either party considers relevant for the discussion between the union and the government. 3, The discussions referred to in clause 2, above shall take place at the Ministry of Education boardroom. And 4, both sides reserve all their rights pursuant to any agreement or the laws of Guyana. And it was signed by Mark Light of the GTU, Attorney Darren Wade, and we have to big up Darren Wade, Attorney Darren Wade. Of course, the representative from the Attorney General Chamber signed, and the Mr. Saddam Hussein, that man who had to be called to court and whipped by the court for contempt of court. It is a good day, and this is our headline, Politics 101 headline. The teacher strike call off. But our big headline is government caves in. The teachers win round 1. Government caves in because it is the government that didn't want to sit down. And it is the government that had to cave in. The teachers have won round 1. Round 1 because round 1 is about getting the government to come to the table to talk. And that they must come to the table to talk without interfering with the teachers' money. That is very important. That number 3 there. That number 3 there is very important. That number 3 there is very important. The discussions, number 4. Both parties reserve all their rights pursuant to any agreement or the laws of Guyana. So the teachers have won round 1. Round 1. They've gotten the government to come to the table and to engage in collective bargaining. They've gotten the government to come to the table to engage in collective bargaining. And of course, they cannot interfere with the people money. They cannot interfere with the people money. They cannot interfere with the people money. I'm expecting some friends of the program to drop by for us to discuss this latest development. I'm expecting a few friends to drop by. They got short notice, so they're going to be a little bit late. But again, the teachers have won round one, in that they have gotten the government to come to the table and to engage in collective bargaining, and to discuss issues that the teachers want to be discussed, and that is the wages, the financial matters. The government is talking about other matters, but the main matter for the teachers is the wages and salaries, and that will be discussed. You see, remember the government was saying, we were meeting with the teachers, and we were scheduled to meet with them in February, and they called a strike. The teachers wanted to discuss money, and the government didn't want to discuss money. And so the teachers went to strike. Now the agreement says you have to discuss money. And so round one has been won by the teachers. I say round 1 because round 2 is coming up. Round 2 is when they sit down to talk. Hello? Hello? Yeah, I'm waiting on you, sir. Yes, that is what I'm waiting on you to discuss. Huh? Yes, Mr. Lewis. Yes, I'm hearing you. I just send the communique to you. Well, what? All right, all right. Well, we'll wait. We're waiting on you to see if you'll come. We're waiting on you if you can get to, because we're on air right now. You're speaking on air right now, and they're expecting you. They're expecting preliminary reaction. The agreement has said there that the teachers are going back to work on Wednesday, no later than Wednesday, and so forth. Yeah. Yes. All right. All right. Yes, that was General Secretary of the TUC there. Uh, 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 Lincoln Lewis is on the road and is open to join us a little bit later on. There seem to be blackout in some parts of Guyana tonight. But the teacher strike, that is the news. The teacher strike has been called off. The government has caved in. They are going to sit down now to talk with the teachers. And we are saying here that the teachers have won round one, because they now have to sit down and they have to talk about the teachers' wage package. And that will be round two, when the teachers put their proposals, and they've put them on the table already. They're saying what they want, and they've put it on the table already, and that will be round two. So round one is to get the government to come to the table and to talk, to negotiate in good faith. And the teachers have agreed in the interim to go back to work. And the discussions have to start within 48 hours of the teachers going back to work. The teachers go back to work no later than Wednesday. I understand that the GTU has told the teachers take a rest tomorrow, and then on Wednesday they go back into the classrooms. And the talks are expected to begin no later than 48 hours. So no later than Friday. No later than Friday. Welcome to Politics 101. Politics 101. We have the good news. The teachers have won round one. I'm reading again from the Stabroek News. A 4-week-long strike by teachers ended today as a result of court-ordered mediation. An agreement reached between the two sides said that the teachers will resume work on or before Wednesday, March 6, 2024. Discussions should then proceed within 48 hours of resumption of work, and shall be in relation to those matters which either party considers relevant for discussion between the union and the government, which includes financial matters. May I repeat? Which includes financial matters. That is the victory for the teachers, because the government did not want to talk about financial matters. And they are bound now by this agreement that they have affixed their signatures to discuss financial matters. These discussions will take place in the boardroom of the Ministry of Education. The agreement said that both parties reserve all their rights pursuant to any agreement or the laws of Guyana. That is their right not to have their monies taken away by the government. So the teachers have won round one. The teachers have won round one. Good evening to you if you're joining us tonight, wherever you're joining us from. If you're joining us from Guyana, my friend, my brother, John C. Paul, welcome, my brother. Lovern, welcome. Roy Braffett, welcome to Politics 101. on a Monday night, we come tonight with the good news that the teachers have won round one. That is, the government has said it has affixed its signature to an agreement that was mediated by 2 senior counselors appointed by the court. And the teachers have agreed to go back to work on Wednesday. And that discussions on the teachers' issues and whatever issues the government also has, these discussions will commence no later than 48 hours after the teachers gone back to work. I would imagine that the teachers' union, they are going to meet now and they're going to discuss their strategy going forward. But as from where I stand, the teachers have agreed to go back to work in good faith. The teachers have acted in good faith, and that they're going to start discussing their salaries and other issues within 48 hours. Round two comes when they negotiate. The teachers have already put their issues on the table. The teachers have put their issues on the table. And they're now going to discuss it with the government. Good evening. I see my sister Hazel Pyle is on. Hazel, good evening. Bachelor's Adventure people. Paradise, Bachelor's Adventure people. Hazel is a long-standing member of the People's National Congress. She's a member of the executive of that political party, herself a teacher. And she is also a member of the why am I not thinking about it? All I'm thinking tonight is teachers. She's a member of the council, the regional council, Region 4, the Region 4 council. Hazel Pyle. Good evening, Hazel. Good evening, Alexis Williams. Good evening, Debbie Collins. I see one of my friends is backstage, Nima Flue-Bess, herself a teacher. You're going to get from Nima Flue her initial reaction to this good news. When I called Nima, she had just gotten in. She was just hearing, because this news broke just within the last hour. So people are now trying to wrap their minds around it. And this is what I always say to people about struggle. You got to struggle. You got to engage in struggle. And you let the struggle run its course, because we don't know where it will go. Do not try to direct the struggle as some of us try to do. We were talking, this must happen, that must happen, this must happen, that wouldn't happen. No. Yes, I love so many of you, Claudette Boville, all of you. Long live the GTU. Long live the GTU. Long live labor. Long live political protest. Long live the teachers of Guyana. When this period of our history is being written, the teachers will be in the front seat. They've led the way. They've shown us how it's done. And I always say, let the struggle take its course. I know we are on social media, we want to direct the thing. This body must come out and this union must come out and so on. And those things are good. It's good to say those things. But the teachers were out there for 4 weeks. And they've won the first round. Let me bring in MP Nima Flue-Bess.
Good evening.
You wrap up your head tonight like them old African woman.
I just came off the road, like I said. So I was doing my usual village walk. So good evening to everyone.
Good evening to you, Nima. You're speaking tonight in the capacity. You hold all kinds of portfolios: member of parliament, community activist, mother. But tonight you're speaking as a
Right.
teacher. You just got the news. I know you haven't digested it yet, but your initial reaction.
You know, when I was coming on here, I had some thoughts together, but then I saw a post that changed my mind and put me in a different frame of mind. And I have it here on my phone where the president here, Fanali, posted exactly what I've been saying all along. Now different. Return to work and allow the process that was ongoing to continue. Why was this so difficult? The same request the Ministry of Education and government have been making continuously. As a responsible government, we will continue to work in the interest of all workers. I mean, I don't even know if I should really express how I feel when it comes to this particular post. I think this post for me is very insensitive. I don't think no thought was given into it. The teachers have not been saying anything different. We wanted to have collective bargaining. We want to come to the table so we can the interests of teachers can be addressed, and that is what this process starts. That engagement. But to see the head of state make a comment like this, and then I read what my colleague said. Wow, no regards for educators. It speaks volume. And so, with posts like this and many others I've seen thus far, as much as I am happy that we have arrived at our objective of having dialogue with the government, I still have some serious doubts and questions in terms of them being genuine and doing what is necessary on the government side.
And quite rightly so, Nima. And the reason I put this up on the thing, because I've been saying on this program for the last couple of weeks, Orphanali can determine reality for me and for you and for our supporters, and by extension, the rest of Guyana. They were defeated. And with all due respect, Nima, you don't expect the president to go and say, well, we lost. It's we that say it. The government has caved in. They didn't want to sit down and talk. And they have now been forced to sit down and talk by 4 weeks of strike by the teachers. I don't care what Irfan Ali said. He can't talk better than me. He can't think more than me. He can't think more than you. And he cannot determine reality for this is our reality. Government caves in. Teachers win, wrong one. He's not going to say that because he can't say that. But we can say it because we know they did not want to sit down. And the teachers being on the road forced them to sit down and talk. We win wrong one. And wrong two is now that we sit down and talk. It's whether they will agree. And the teachers obviously reserve the right to go back out on strike. If when they sit down to talk, then come up to scratch. Over back to you.
Yes, I agree with you. And like I said, I've been talking to my colleagues when they message and ask if it is true. So I had to be verifying, reading, checking the source, calling up a few people because I want to ensure that I have the right information. I will look at our president, GTU president's live, where he updated us on what was happening. And I've read many of the comments that is in the box. And indeed, this is just the first round. It took us 4 weeks standing in the hot sun, chanting every day. It took us 4 weeks away from our students. I know a lot of them, they were actually updating me. They're more informed, you know. I want you to know the students are more informed and up to date with what was happening. And so they started to send all these different emojis. Some people said they're now enjoying their vacation. They now throw back in the chair and all of these things. I mean, all the humor to it. I am happy that we stood our grounds as educators. We stood our grounds for our rights. And I trust that even as we move to the other process, that our rights indeed will be respected. I know the government will be looking at this program. So I hope when I return, I'm not going back to work tomorrow. I'm going back to work on Wednesday, like many of my colleagues, because we are very tired. So we need to rejuvenate ourselves as our president advised. And then we can get back into the classroom on Wednesday. But I hope when I return to my school on Wednesday, Priya Manichan, I see she post up, the Honorable Minister post up our agreement on our page, that I will have a very comfortable chair when I return to work on Wednesday, because they ain't gonna hear the half of me. I hope when I return to work that I will have a comfortable chair like my colleagues who've been waiting for some proper teacher's chair to sit on at St. Joseph High School. So I know they will hear this program tonight because I know they will pay attention to all that's being said. I hope that I get a comfortable chair when I return to school on Wednesday, because I will probably have to pick up the old chair and drop it off at ministry the same day. And I'm very serious about that.
Nima Flue-Bess from Mocha, Arcadia, herself a teacher at St. Joseph High School, and our initial reactions here tonight to the news that the government has caved in. The government has caved in. You all listen to me. You all listen to me. The government has caved in to the first demand of the teachers, which was what? Come to the table and talk to us. And so the teachers of what? Don't worry, Irfan Ali. Again, I tell you, a pushing out, a bigging up with chest air. There, you all send people like me to school to come up with headlines like this, right? Because we know the government's going to spin it in their way, but they can't spin. Spin is an art. You don't learn it at the University of High Flat. You don't learn to spin from the back of the hand, and you don't learn to bowl the googly if you go to the University of High Flat. I ain't got there. Nima got there. We've been to proper universities. Good evening. My brother, I see one of my friends here. Kidackie Amsterdam is joining us. Kidackie, good evening.
Good evening to you, Dr. Good evening, viewers. Good evening, Nima. How you do?
Tired.
I can imagine.
Kidackie, I sent the communique to you, the agreement that was signed between the teachers and the government. I trust that you've had a University of Kaisuko. You all ended on me. I trust that you've had your initial reactions.
Well, it's kudos to the teachers. I want to say it's a win for the teachers. I must commend every single teacher that stood out there for those several weeks and were unrelenting. And I want to reiterate what I've always said: unless you prepare to stand, you're not going to get what you deserve. And this has shown, at least in the first round, that the teachers are getting to where they want. The government must sit down and, most importantly, not only sit down with them and continue negotiations, but they must discuss financial matters. And that is what the teachers have been asking for. That is what the teachers are getting. And so kudos to the teachers.
Kudos to the teachers. And you mentioned there that they must discuss financial matters. Kidackie, you've been around the story long. And when you look at that agreement, that financial matter stands out. Nima Flue-Bess, if you look in the agreement, this clause 4, it says there in clause 4 that both parties, what am I saying? It's in clause 3, no? Clause.
Is that a clause where both parties must discuss whatever they think is important?
Yes.
Including financial matters?
Including financial matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's clause 2. Clause 2.
Yes.
That financial matters, very important. Because remember, the government was claiming that the union was meeting with them. And the union was saying we were meeting with them, but they weren't discussing what we want to discuss, financial matters. So the agreement has in there includes financial matters. You can run, but what? You can't
hide.
hide.
You can't
You
hide.
can't hide. Now, I do understand that given the brutalization that we have had at the hands of this government, they've brutalized the institutions of Guyana, that the teachers and other citizens are skeptical. But you know what? This institution has worked
Yeah.
in favor of justice, in favor of justice. The court has used something, a weapon that any court anywhere in the world has, and that is judicial review, to say to the executive branch, you're out of order. And we saw with our naked eyes that man, Saddam Hussein, was called to the court after he tried to disrespect the court. And the judge called him, put him, bend him over like they used to do a long time in school, and whip his little ass for contempt of court. That is what happened there. We are doing it in our country, and we are doing it because the teachers went on the road and forced the institutions of this country, Guyana. It is the teachers that, no, Justice Kissoon did what he had to do, but Justice Kissoon would not have had the opportunity to do what he had to do had the teachers not gone on the street and skin up this government. Skin the government up. And they had the temerity to say they want to disrespect the court. And Kissoon said, not my court. Nima Flue-Bess.
Yes, indeed. You know, when you sit and you reflect on all that has taken place over the last 4 weeks, we must commend the justice for allowing us to see the courts at work. Because, you know, it's a long time we really haven't seen much of that taking place in Guyana. So kudos to him and the recommendation he would have made to help this process to go through, because I believe if the government had the way, we probably would still be on the road for a longer time, because they don't care about the children and the families that are being affected. Tonight, Dr. Hines, before I leave you, because you know I have my children to deal with, I must say a special thanks to everyone who has supported us in time, cash, kind, whatever you have done to ensure that we were comfortable and out there in the hot sun standing for this particular action to take place. I must say thank you to Kidackie and all the other persons. At least tomorrow morning I don't have to stop along the way to pick up water and all of that, because persons can say, you know, I got some water to donate for the teachers, but I don't have transportation and I know you're passing at me, so you got to stop and collect this water. So every morning I would stop to collect water, 2-3 cases of water from people. So my children got to join the transportation with me so they could lift the weight and put it in the vehicle.
Yes.
So I must thank them also for their assistance to help me to pick up the stuff so that it could be delivered for my colleagues. And colleagues, please enjoy a good day of rest tomorrow. And we'll be in the classroom on Wednesday. So
Nima,
I want to thank you.
Before you go, Nima, number 4 is very important here. Eh? Both parties reserve all their rights pursuant to any agreement or the laws of Guyana. As they say, interpret that for us. Tell the teachers in raw language what I mean.
If we got to go back on the road and we're not happy, so be it.
So
that's raw language. Language.
But also
they
can't interfere with your money. They cannot interfere with your money. Your right to earn your money, even when you are fighting for more money, is intact. It's reserved. It's reserved. And as you said, Nima, this is wrong one.
Yes,
we may have to collect some more water, because within 48 hours, we are assuming they will come to the table. If they don't come to the table, you reserve the right to go back on the road. And if they come to the table and they ain't talk
the language,
you reserve the right. You all get them where you all want them. This is a great victory. I cannot underscore this is a great victory. Yes, Kidackie.
The one thing I want to point out is or caution. I have a problem with clause. I think that's clause 3.
Yeah, well, Kidackie, I don't want to get into the problems tonight. Not tonight. Not tonight. Not tonight. Tonight we're celebrating.
Listen, man, we celebrate. Yeah, no, we can't.
Tonight we're celebrating. I want the problems tomorrow night. Problems.
Allow me to give my view.
Yes, but here, allow me to celebrate tonight with my audience.
But we celebrating, but celebration should not cause us to go blind.
I am saying tonight.
All I want to say.
Tonight we celebrate. Tomorrow.
Listen, man, you want me on this program or not?
Huh?
No.
You see, you all social media influencers. You all tonight we celebrate. All right, go ahead. Let me hear you.
The terminology at clause 3 is broad.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have to guard ourselves against the government dilly-dallying, because that thing about reasonable time, who determines reasonable time?
Mr. Kidackie Amsterdam, the union has competent lawyers. Mr. Darren Wade is the lawyer. They are doing it. Me and you, we are not the lawyers. We are not the lawyers.
We have a right to analyze it.
Yeah,
Let's celebrate. Let's celebrate. Again, it's a victory for the teachers. I commend the teachers. I encourage them to go there and stick to their guns when these discussions begin in 48 hours. And like Nima rightly said, if you're talking with language, then we reserve the right to go back on the road.
Of course.
There's nothing wrong with going back on the road.
Of course. That's what we said. We have won round 1. We haven't win everything yet. We win round 1. Remember, the first thing was that they were saying they don't want to talk to the teachers.
Yeah.
And now they have to talk. And they have to talk about financial matters. They may choose not to talk. And if they choose not to talk, we're going back on the road, if I understand what the teachers are saying. But the court has ordered them. Do not underestimate the role of the judicial branch. Once the system works, the judicial branch has the right of judicial review to tell the executive branch where to go. And that is exactly what they're doing. We have the wind back. Let's move on. Nima, you have the last word before you go.
Okay, I want to thank you for having me here. Yes, and I want to thank all those who supported us. And the fight continues as we celebrate tonight our first step. And I trust that the government will let good faith and good sense prevail and ensure that they create the happy teachers needed for the classroom. Thank you, viewers. I've been reading your comments, and I will respond to you shortly.
Thank you very much, Nima Flue-Bess. Nima Flue-Bess here. Nima Flue-Bess. Kidackie, let's deviate a little bit from the teacher strike. There, I read a news report where some citizen is threatening to sue you for some comment in relation to the spill in Trinidad, in Tobago. Can you bring us up to date with that? What is that about, and so on, without violating any of the guardrails as it relates to matters before the court?
Well, I don't know if it's a matter before the court. I don't know if I've been sued. All of the reports I've read on this incident, I have read. I have not been contacted by any lawyer or any officer of the court or anything to say, well, Mr. Amsterdam, you've been sued. A lawsuit has been filed against you, and so you're expected to appear before the judiciary to answer to these allegations and so on. But yes, I read in 2 reports, both of them I think emanated from Newsroom, one saying that this individual has threatened to sue me based on a comment that was made in relation to the oil spill. And yes, I did make a comment in relation to the oil spill, attributing ownership of the vessel to this particular individual based on previous reports that I read in the newspaper. To be specific, my discussions on that matter started with, we are learning. We are learning that this vessel XYZ is owned by TUV person. If that constitutes libel, well, then let the court.
But you have not been contacted by any.
No, but I've not been contacted by
or
anyone.
All right,
whether by someone or otherwise.
We shall keep on top of that. Let's go back. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I've just read these things, so I don't know where that stands. And wherever it stands, if ever it comes to me being summoned to the court and so on, so be it. We shall deal with that bridge when we get to cross it.
We get back. Bring us up to date with what's happening in Buxton. There was a land issue there over the last couple of days that you have been covering. Bring us up to date with that issue.
Well, in short, what has happened is Buxton, Buxton and lands. A lot of persons have lands in varying sections of the village which they have not occupied. And there's this particular villager, Leroy Hamer, also known as Napi, who over the years, one can say has been guilty of occupying people's land without their permission, and keeping them away from it through bullyism and threats and all manner of things. There's a whole large swath of land that he currently occupies with others as farmlands and so on. One lady turned up Sunday when we had a meeting there. I was showing where about 8 plots of land belonging to her is under cultivation by Napi and this group, and she continues to pay the taxes at the NDC. What is happening now is that on the opposite side of that land, the opposite side of that occupied land, they have started clearing a large area again with the aid of the NDIA, which is an arm of the Ministry of Agriculture. The NDC was alerted, and so the NDC decided that they were going to intervene to protect proprietors' private property, because the documents coming out of the Guyana Lands and Survey Commission indicate that it is private property, and despite the fact that it is not occupied, it still belongs to private individuals. So the meeting was held with people coming forward with their documents, showing ownership and so on. Instructions were given by the NDC to the operator of that piece of machinery there to desist. But lo and behold, an advisory committee was set up. I think the first meeting should be tomorrow, I think, at the NDC. And then they will start to interact with proprietors to give them guidance as to how they can go about to rectify the issues which they are confronted with. But despite all of that, we learned today that earlier this morning, 2 additional machines were taken to the land. And so clearing apparently continued today. The biggest issue for me is the insensitivity of the government. Because first and foremost, my position is that if the government is approached for assistance to clear lands, they must first establish ownership, who the real owners of these lands are, before they even get involved in assisting whoever approached them to. Otherwise, they would be aiding and abetting crimes. And that is what is happening there. And despite the fact that the NDC has intervened, the government seems to be continuing on this path. And so that is concerning. Like I said Sunday, and I'm seeing it again, it would seem as though the government is setting up Buxtonians to kill one another. That is my firm belief.
Well,
and
let's hope.
I just hope they will desist.
Let's hope it doesn't get to that. And we'll keep on top of that story. The other story that I know that you've been paying close attention to is the election for the Guyana Public Service Credit Union, Co-op Credit Union, and the results that came out. Team Trevor Ben is one. Tell us what you know of those results.
Well, the results are it's a clean sweep, let me call it that, by Team Ben. Every member of the Team Ben, every representative on the Team Ben list scored in excess of 1,200 votes. So it was a clean sweep. I think Trevor scored the highest with about 1,800 plus votes.
Yeah.
Right. So every member on the Team Ben slate scored in excess of 1,200 votes. The then current committee of management, 9 members, I think, the meeting passed a resolution that they cannot stand for elections. And so basically, the Team Ben can be considered duly elected for the management of the Co-op Credit Union. But it didn't go down as easy as that. On the day of the elections itself, Karen Van Slytman had argued that at the time when there should have been a quorum, there was no quorum, and so the meeting should have been cancelled. The returning officer said at that time there was a quorum, and so the meeting continued. The elections took place. Lo and behold, this morning, my attention was drawn to the happenings down at the Co-op headquarters there, and it was the most embarrassing thing, if I can call it that, for every individual in that place, especially those who represent the then current committee of management. The duly elected people turned up to proceed with the business of managing the co-op, and those who have been voted out, as we would normally say, resisted.
Wow.
They resisted. The meeting was not permitted to go on. There was, what I want to call raucousness, banging on desk and destruction of co-op property, because the metal stuff that they were banging the desk with was certainly defacing it, among other things. Insults were being hurled left, right, and center. One judicial officer in particular, the lawyer, I think, for the Van Slytman team, I dare argue that she brought the judiciary into disrepute. She didn't perform as though she's a legal officer, as though she is an officer of the court, right? And so it was quite an embarrassing situation down there. I can't tell you how it resolved itself, if it resolved itself at the end of the day. As a matter of fact, at the end of the day, Team Van Slytman was still locked in the offices, saying that they're not coming out, they're not giving up. And one is yet to see what will happen tomorrow. Yes, that was the last thing I became aware of. So it's not over until it's over.
We will be keeping an eye on that situation. You know, we give bad behavior sometimes individual faces, sometimes we give it party faces, and we don't always realize how much some of these bad behaviors have become normative. When you look at the way in which those people behave there today, and you look at the way our government has behaved, you realize that the sickness is not confined just to people on the government side. It's also to people on our side. That in many ways, this government has succeeded in tarnishing the political culture of this country. We really have a lot of work to do. You know, sometimes we obviously are right when we say we have to change the government, but you wonder whether just changing the government is all we have to do. There is so much more that we have to do to clean up what the PPP has really visited on our country. The crassness, the vulgarity. I see some of the ladies here are talking quite rightly of how embarrassed they were at the way in which 4 Black women have behaved there today. We have a lot of work to do. But let's get back to the teacher strike, Kidackie. What for you are the lessons that we can take away from this first round of the teachers strike? The first round. Many people are hoping that this is the final round. But as we know, we are dealing with a raw government which will try a thing. And so we have to keep open that the teachers may have to go back out. But for now, The teachers have got this round one locked, and they've won big, 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 big. What are the lessons that we, as political activists, as political people, as sufferers, as working people, can take away from this first round of the strike?
For me, the very first and most important lesson is that the PPP is not invincible. They can be tamed. The PPP is not invincible. They can be tamed. So long as people are prepared to stand up and stand firmly against the abuses and excesses of the PPP, they can be curtailed. That's my first lesson. The second lesson for me is once the judiciary and other constitutional agencies of the state are prepared to function the way they were intended to function, the PPP can be curtailed, they can be managed. And those are two important lessons for me. Those are, for me, the two most important lessons.
The two most important lessons, and I concur with those important lessons. One, as Kidackie said, once you engage in struggle, you put the government on the back foot, and you force them to do things that they may not necessarily have to do. And in many regards, what the teachers have done is that they've exposed how callous this government is, how callous they are, the lengths that they are prepared to go. Imagine these are people who are telling us that they want to win Black people vote as crossover votes. If you're really serious in winning Black people vote, are you going to be brutalizing teachers who are mostly Black people? Not all the teachers are Black people, but mostly. One would think if you are really serious, that you really want Black people vote, that you would be treating the organizations that Black people belong to with more respect. The fact that the government has brutalized the teachers in this way has shown they're not serious about no Black people vote.
You know, Dr. Hines, another aspect of that is, as we usually say, Black people don't make joke with the children. and the way they have shown scant regard for the education of our children is another prime example of why we know that they don't have our interests at heart. To allow the teachers' strike to go on for such a long time, I can't remember the exact number of days, but let me say 20 days just so the ease of
21 days including
21
today.
days, right? 21 days represent 168 teaching and learning periods. The loss of 168 teaching and learning periods for students who are preparing for the National Grade 6 examination and CSEC and all of that would have a big impact on the outcome of the examination results. And poor people, Black people, have invested heavily, and they continue to invest heavily in the education of their children. And any government who shows such scant regard for that is certainly saying, we don't care about you. And that is what people should take note of when it comes to consider whether or not the government cares and should really get their votes.
They don't care about our children. They don't care about our teachers. That whole thing about crossover vote is a sham. They intend to rig the elections. And when they finish rigging the election, they will say, we win not because of rigging. We win because of crossover votes. But if you're really interested in crossover votes, you wouldn't be treating the voters that you're expecting to cross over to you in such a manner. So the teacher strike really has brought out how brutal this government is, and in particular, how brutal it is to the constituency that it considers to be the constituency of the opposition. And the second thing that you mentioned, of course, is the way in which the teachers are forced, an important institution of state, to function, and that is the court. We have had problems with the court. We have disagreed with the court in many regards. I have had fights with people on our side who have heaped a lot of criticisms and so on Justice George in particular, because she did not rule in favor of the opposition in a lot of these matters. And I have always argued that you can disagree with rulings in the court, but don't throw the baby with the bathwater. One day we will need that very court. And so said, so done. It is that court that has come, that has heard the calls, has heard the demands of the teachers and responded. And that is why we have to be very careful when we are being critical of decisions of the court, not to throw away the court. Not to throw away the court. I mean, I want to get your thoughts on Justice George's ruling in relation to the Winston Jordan case, which I know you've been paying attention to, in which the government tried to go behind the backs of Winston Jordan and his lawyers and to force the court to brutalize that man after his matter was discharged by a magistrate. Your thoughts on that case?
Well, again, I think it's a case of the judiciary functioning as it is expected to. The judiciary is expected to protect people's rights within the confines of the law. And so I want to commend Justice George for standing up for the rights of Mr. Jordan in this instance, because the fact is, as some people, I don't know if I'm right in saying that it would have been a case of double jeopardy. This is a matter that has already been dealt with and settled for quite a while. And unknowingly, like a thief in the night, the DPP basically was asking the court for a committal order, right? Without the accused in this case getting an opportunity to face the accuser, because here is Jordan resting, quite frankly, in the comfort of knowing that his case is over. And quietly in the night, they basically are moving to having committed. And you have to notice this. Over a holiday weekend, right? Over a holiday weekend. That thing was done to me, or it was attempted, when I had that matter with the Laudela. Up until now, I don't know what the ruling of that magistrate is, because the magistrate had committed to give us a date when she was going to make the ruling. I have not been informed of that date up to now. I don't know what the ruling was. All I knew is that I got a call, listen, Amsterdam, there's a warrant here for your arrest and locked up or sent, I don't know, committal, yes. Because this thing came to an end. You were supposed to pay a fine and you haven't paid the fine. But these things I didn't know about. So while the PPP is weaponizing the DPP's office, it is relieving, if I can say that, to see that the courts, at least in this particular instance, is prepared to stand and defend citizens' right. And so I'm happy for that ruling. I hope it's a new dispensation in terms of rulings from the acting Chief Justice. And definitely, the rulings of Justice Sandel Kissoon is a breath of fresh air.
And then you have the David Patterson case.
Yes, again, so it would appear as though there has been an awakening. There has been an awakening in the judiciary. Judicial officers perhaps have recognized that, listen, we have stayed quiet for too long and allowed these abuses to happen. And so let us get back to being defenders of the Constitution.
Of the Constitution. I'll put it another way, with all due respect to my younger brother. I'll put it another way. The court has not just awakened. It is the people of this country, led by the teachers, who have decided to stand up for justice. You see, power concedes nothing. So says, brother from the United States of America. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did and never will. It is not that the court has now wake up, my brother. It is that the people have risen up in the form of the teachers. And it is when people rise up, they force the institutions to react. The institutions by themselves will take the easy road, always, always. But with the scrutiny of people's struggle on the streets, the scrutiny of people like yourself on your program, it is forcing the institutions to react. So you're right, the courts are acting, but they're acting because the people are forcing them to act. That is how history has always worked. And that is why this teacher strike is big. Big, big. What the teachers have done here is that they've saved this country for another day. Another day. No, it's not perfect. And that is why just now when you wanted to point out some of the little holes in the agreement, I was pushing back. Because there will always be, you'll never get the perfect agreement. You will never, but we don't want the perfect agreement now. What we want now is an agreement that answers our call, which is which is collective bargaining. And yes, there are holes in that thing. It's broad, but we're going to get there. But for now, because before you came on, Nima Flue-Bess was pointing out that President Ali is spinning this, that they win. That they always wanted the teachers to go back to school, to work. And that what this agreement has done is send the teachers back to work. And I'm saying we have to spin it because we got better spinners than them. We spinners went to real schools. So they're going to spin it and say, we win because the teachers gone back to work. But we got to spin it and saying, the teachers gone back to work because they win and they force you to come to the table.
And certainly the teachers have won, and the only winners in this, if we see it as a two-man fight, the government versus teachers, the winners ought to be the teachers. The teachers from day one said, we are willing to go back to the classroom. We want to go back to the classroom, but we want you to sit with us and discuss our financial issues before we go back to the classroom. And if you look at the agreement, it says that financial issues must be a part of those discourses. And so the teachers got what they wanted, right? And so they're going to go back to the classroom.
Correct is right. We have said
the
on this
program was pig-headed and saying that they're not going to talk to the teachers. The teachers got to go back to the classroom. But they are talking to the teachers.
That's right.
They have to talk to the teachers. It is talk which they're talking to the teachers that will allow or cause the teachers to go back to the classroom. So, I mean, I don't place too much emphasis on what Ali says because, like I always say, the man's semi-literate.
You're a boy from a good family and they teach you manners. Do not be disrespectful to the head of state. You said semi-literate or semi-illiterate? Which one?
Well, let me make it unambiguous. The man is an illiterate.
Look, the objective was never the strike. The objective was collective bargaining and better wages. The strike was the means to the end. Always remember that. Our brothers and sisters in the audience and further afield. There are no people who love their students more than teachers. Sometimes our teachers give us more love than our own parents. The things that our teachers have done for us, they're like co-parents. And so teachers never want to withdraw from teaching their children. But in order to teach their children better, they have to have a living wage. Good evening to Sister Linda Campbell Cookie. Good evening to Cheryl Glenn, Barbara Barrington. Good evening to Sandra Facey, Ali Majid. Good evening to you. It's good to see everybody out tonight. Audrey Garraway, up there in that Dartmouth area. I always forget your little village up the road from Dartmouth there, but I call the whole area Dartmouth. Good evening, Lester, Gloria Pod. It's a good night. It's a good night for us, those of us who have kept hope alive, those of us who have continued to ensure that we do what is needed to get our people battle ready. And our teachers have stood the test. Nothing is ever perfect. Yes, there were about 20%, 30% of teachers who didn't come out. We would have loved the strike to have been 100%, and I think it would have gotten closer to 100% had it continued. But we are grateful that 60, 70, 75% of the teachers answered the call, and they stood up, and they won for all of us. Round one. As Kidackie Amsterdam is saying, that when we read the memorandum, there are some broad areas there in the memorandum. But within that memorandum are some serious victories. One, the teachers have forced the government to come to the table and honor collective bargaining. Second, the teachers have forced the government to come and talk about financial matters. Third, the teachers have forced the government not to interfere with their money. If the government had not tried to frighten teachers about interfering with their money, more teachers would have been on the road. More teachers would have been on the road. But they kept frightening the teachers about taking out their money. When you working for a little bit money in the first place, you are worrying about your rent coming up this month in. You're worrying about your car note that they're taking out from your salary, bankers take out. You're worrying about those things. But you should also be worrying about the long term. We understand that. It's about balancing the immediate short term with the long term. And we are heartened that enough of our teachers have done that. And we want to commend them. Kidackie, most of these are young women, mostly Black women, but also some Indian women, young, in their 20s, in their 30s. They don't have the kind of political maturity because they've grown up in a time when politics became lawlessness. And obviously they were turned off from politics. But they had enough consciousness to recognize that they had to go on the road in order to fight for what there is. And so one of the lessons that we are learning here, Kidackie, is also the importance of political education. The importance of doing the political education that you do and the others of us on social media and other media do in trying to prepare our people with that kind of consciousness that they can balance between the immediate individual needs and the larger long-term needs. And I think the balance was not a perfect balance this time around, but it was enough to force the government. Kidackie Amsterdam.
One of the things, as you mentioned, that there were also Indo-Guyanese teachers on the strike line. It dawned on me that another extremely important lesson is what can be achieved if Guyanese put aside race and stand together as Guyanese, as working class people, as citizens of this country to fight for what is right. It is important. One of the shining stars of this teachers' strike is, I think the young man's name is Samaru from Essequibo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Samaru.
Right? One of the Chinese, he came out every single day and he rallied the forces and he encouraged his fellow Indo-Guyanese to join the strike and recognize that this ain't got nothing to do with politics, it ain't got nothing to do with race, but it had to do with the right to livable wages. And I want to encourage us to, as citizens of this country, recognize that if we stand together, as citizens, set aside race and ethnicity, we are going to tame this PPP and we're going to put them where they rightly belong. And we will get what we justly deserve.
And certainly, Kidackie there is making the distinction between people's partisan affiliation. You can vote for who you want to vote for. As a teacher, you have a right to vote for the PNC or PPP or whoever party you want to vote for. You have a right to. You have a right to. But you also, again, have to balance your partisan affiliation with your needs as workers. As workers. If you feel that in a partisan way the PPP is better for Indians, nobody should beat you over your head for that. If black people feel that PNC is better for black people partisanly, nobody should beat you for that. But you can do your party and your race and also do your workers' cause and do your workers' demands. That is that you are Indo-Guyanese, you are PPP, you are teachers, you are workers, you are all of those things. And you have to balance them. I am not one of those persons who believe that people will disregard race tomorrow. It's not going to happen. Race is a very powerful identity, but it is not the only identity. We have racial identity, we have political identity, we have working class identity, we have class identity, we have gender identity, we have village identity, we have tongue identity, and we have to balance all our identities. And I think that's when our country works best. That somebody can say, I have voted for the PPP. I will vote for them again at the next election. But on this matter of the teacher strike, I'm not with them. And I think that's where our country is a better country. A better country to say, I voted for the PPP or the PNC, as the case may be. But on this matter of teachers' pay, I part in ranks with the party that I voted for and that I may vote for again. You see? And I think that's when we become a better country. That's when we become a better country. I'm not one of those persons who believe people should forget about their race. I think we're asking people to do the impossible. What I will argue is that in spite of your racial identification with a political party, there's also another identification, and that is your class identification, which your political party doesn't respect. And I think that's what this strike has shown. And you know what? If we go back to 2016, I think it was, when those teachers struck against the coalition, it was the African teachers then who voted for the coalition, but said, on this matter of teachers' pay, we're not with you. So Africans did it back in 2016, and now Indians did it. And I think it's a wonderful time for Guyana that people can hold on to their ethnic identity, hold on to their political identity, but also recognize that there are times when your ethnic affiliation and your political affiliation collide with your class interests. And we've always had to balance race and class. And now we have to balance gender, because as I've been pointing out, this teacher strike got some gender issues that we have not talked about. It's gender issue because the majority of teachers are women. And a lot of them are, head in households. But more than that, the men who are teachers are not earning the kind of monies to act as men in their own family. And emasculating of the male. So it has gender consequences, both for males and to females. So it's about race, it's about class, it's about gender, it's about political party. And the consciousness I am saying that I want for my Guyanese citizens is not to disregard any of those identities, but to find a way to balance them. And whenever one is colliding with the other, you have to say, wait, Dorothy, wait. Wait, Dorothy, wait, to quote the Black Stallion, Kidackie Amsterdam.
Well, indeed, there are a lot of gender issues, especially when it comes to teaching. We have for years we have been saying that there are too few male role models in the education sector. But like you rightly say, men are usually seen as head of household, as breadwinners, etc., and they're expected to contribute heavily financially to the upkeep of their families and so on. And the wages and salaries, the monies that are paid to teachers are really and truly starvation wages. And so a lot of men have not gravitated to the education sector, especially as classroom teachers. And so what you're seeing on display out there in terms of the strike is a clear indication of what is happening in the classrooms. And any society, I would argue, which wants its male to be role models and be present in the classroom, must take a good look at what they're offering them in terms of remuneration and really improve the package if they want them to be in the classroom. Right?
If they want them to be in the classroom. Thank you very much, Brother Kidackie. Brother Nigel Juke is saying here, Brother Hines, there is nothing to spin. The truth is always going to shine. Those people should be ashamed of themselves. And as for the president, who is a dunce, you can't blame him. Just listen to the guy pronouncing cervical cancer. He must have hated his teachers. Look, I am going to be eternally, Kidackie Amsterdam, eternally glad that I'm Guyanese. And glad that I come from within the ranks and the bowels of... Listen, look at the wisdom here. Eh? He must have hated his teachers. I mean, I will have to take a whole book to say what this brother is saying here. When you look at the way that man's government is treating teachers, clearly he hates teachers. And if you didn't learn properly when you go to school, then you go hate your teachers. You know?
But the irony is that at least one parent was a teacher. That's the irony.
There you go.
So maybe there's hatred there too.
Brother Nigel, I will remember you when I'm going to write a book or a book chapter or a journal article on this strike. I think tremendous wisdom. I love, and that's why I love working people. I love the salt of the earth of our country. There's a wisdom that resides among our people that is second to none. And it is why I fight every day for us to release that wisdom, to release that energy. Look at those teachers out there. Look at those women, mostly women, but men also. Look at them every day doing what a month ago we didn't, 2 months ago, we didn't give them a chance to do. And they're doing it in a situation of fear, in a situation of brutality by a government. Heroism. I really love being Guyanese. I really love being a teacher. And I know, Kidackie, you're a teacher too. All of us are teachers. I stand with the teachers and I said, we have won the first round. Let me repeat. We beat them to come to the table. They didn't want to come to the table. And we beat them to come to the table. They wanted to take away the teachers' money. The teachers beat them. And they can't take away the teachers' money. Rascals they are to want to take away a little small piece from teachers. That's the second thing. The third thing, the teachers have shown that Guyanese have not lost their zeal for struggle and resistance. That's very important. When a country stops resisting, that country becomes a dead country. When a people stop resisting, they become dead people. That's the third thing. The fourth thing, it showed what leadership from the bottom does. I love my union executives. Sister Coretta, Brother Light, etc. I love them. You know, one of the teachers, one of the executives from our village, Brother Collis. I love them. But this strike was a strike from the bottom. The union executives themselves said it was the teachers who told them, strike or we're going to strike you all out. So this was a strike from the bottom. It was a strike from the bottom. The next thing the teachers did is that they forced our institutions to work. In this case, the court. They forced the court to do its job and to invoke a clause that many of us didn't know exists. Our teachers are heroes and sheroes, and we must big them up and continue to big them up. Round one. Round two may be even more brutal because this is the PPP. This is the PPP. They're going to look for ways to come to kick us and kick the teachers in their asses again. They're going to look at that agreement and look for loopholes. But that's why we have Darren Wade. That's why we have Darren Wade and other lawyers who are on top of it. Sometimes you have to take 75% in order to win 100% tomorrow. You take 75% today. Nothing is perfect in political struggle, but the teachers have won round one, and we're preparing now for round two, which must begin. So teachers, you went on strike, not because strike was your objective. You went on strike to save the day for teachers and for students and for the education system. You went on strike to get the government to honor collective bargaining in the first place. And you've persevered. You have lifted the state off its backside. You have lifted the state off its head and put it on its foot. We hope they stay on their feet. Our teachers are heroes, sheroes, and you did it in the month of February. It's the month of the Bourbis Revolution in 1763. You did it in Black History Month, a month set aside for Black people and brown people to say to the world that we are people too. You did it in February. You are the real heroes and sheroes. We applaud you. We stand with you. And we say, go back into the classroom with your heads held high. Go back into the classroom knowing that you have done God's work. You have done the work for your children and the children of our country. Go back into the classroom and do what you have been called to do. But you go back there with your dignity. Your dignity. You do not go back there in indignity. You go back there with your dignity. But you go back there, not close your eyes and to believe that it's all over. Because the serpent will find a way to come back to bite. But this time, we will be waiting for the serpent because we got the number. We got the number. You all teachers got the number. All hail to the teachers. Big up, big up, big up, big up. Give thanks. Give thanks to the teachers. Kidackie Amsterdam, your closing thoughts.
But in closing, once again, I want to say congratulations. Kudos to the teachers. I want to say they have set a fine example. As we like to say, teachers is tell you do it till you get it right. And the teachers have certainly said to the government, do it till you get it right. Come, sit at the table, let us talk about the issues which we consider important to us. But I also want to say, importantly, that the teachers have set an example for other sections of the public sector to follow. And I do hope that the other sections of the public sector take a page out of the teacher's book and stand against this government for what they rightly deserve.
Stand against this government for their rightly deserve. All praise to the teachers. All hail to the executive of the GTU. Those leaders, Sister Coretta McDonald, Brother Mark Light, Collis Nicholson, some of the other names I don't have in front of me, that you have stood with your constituents, you have stood with your members, and you have stood even for those even who didn't answer the call. And for those who didn't answer the call this time around, I hope that you have seen more light. More light. Not that you haven't seen the light. I think all teachers have seen the light. But some of you did not see enough of the light. You've seen enough of the light. We hope that the teachers don't have to go on the road again. But if they must, this time around, those who stayed away will recognize the importance of solidarity. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. And I want to thank you all. We have kept the vigil here for 1 month as we stayed with the teachers. As we say, the executives are sure going to meet in the next couple of days and they're going to assess the way forward. I want to thank and to say hail to the lawyers led by Darren Wade, young man who took up the cause and ran with it. I come from a period when lawyers would come and volunteer, and Darren Wade comes from that tradition. I always say, when I was a young man, teenager, 18, 19, 20, I had two eminent lawyers, the late Peter Britton, the late Peter Britton, and the late Benji Gibson, my two lawyers. Of course, there was the in-house lawyer, Moses Bagwan in the WPA. He was always there. But I had two lawyers, two eminent lawyers, in the days when lawyers would come and represent you. And I'm forever grateful to Mr. Britton and Mr. Gibson. And Darren Wade, Nigel Hughes, and others, Roysdale Ford and others, are of that tradition. Lawyers who practice their trade, but who are also people's lawyers, because we need experts. And for those of us on social media, those of us who they now call social media influencers and so forth, we continue to stay with the teachers and to cover the teachers' strike and to interpret what the teachers did in ways that are beneficial to the teachers and to put the teachers in the light that they should be put. Brother U.C. Guyana says, as artists and intellectuals and activists, part of our job is to take the people's experiences, refine them, and to give them back to the people as political nourishment. And we come here every evening not to play sport. We come here in the evening not to fight down flesh and blood, but to fight down wickedness in high places. I'm quoting Brother Bob Marley. Brother Bob Marley. I big up myself. I noticed I got a little quotation in Time magazine as they did a review of the Marley movie. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I will do so shortly. And they did a review and they quoted from yours truly. You know, Time magazine. I remember as a little boy, you reading Time magazine, and who would have said, who would have believed that at some point somebody from our community would be quoted in Time magazine. Big up ourselves. Big up ourselves. Thank you all very much. I'm going to see you all tomorrow night. Who am I having tomorrow night? I know I'm having somebody big tomorrow night, but I can't remember now. Old age. Kidackie, thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Hines, and thank you viewers for having me. Do have a restful rest of your night. I'll see you tomorrow morning on Guyanese morning time, and we'll continue to talk the thing.
Thank you much. And Agan. I really don't want to go, but I gotta go. See you all tomorrow.